Trying some new music. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buzzard's Nest podcast. I'm Buzz, your host. And today we're doing a quick little podcast because last week I had a crazy work schedule. So I didn't have time to record. I tried recording at work and, well, it didn't work at work. But we want to talk about something that really hit me. A little nostalgia. Camping. Remember camping when I was a kid all the time. I think I started camping when I was 13 years old. Started out with my grandparents. We used to always go out in, I don't even see them anymore. They're old campers that would sit on the back of the bed of a truck. It didn't extend out further than truck bed, but it came over the sides a little bit. Little thing. I bet you I was like 12, 13. We started camping, going on those trips every weekend during the summer while I was off school. And we used to go to a place called Pioneer Park. It's up near Somerset, Donegal area. It was really cool back then. In the day, it wasn't as... If you go there now, it's really nice built up. Right now, or when we used to go, I should say, it had its primitive tenting area, where I think you could get electricity at some sites. There was no electricity at some. There was always a fire pit and one of these metal barbecues that would stand up on a post. And that's what we do. My grandfather used to have all the equipment. Like we even had a portable toilet, even though they provided, back then it was outhouses. Now they have plumbing and showers. It's not even camping anymore. It's roughing your sleeping area and being outside the whole time. Yeah, we used to have a portable toilet, one of the little bucket things with a toilet lid, and a makeshift tarp to hide underneath, and a Coleman stove, one of those gas ones you had to pump up and start it. That's what we cooked off of for breakfast, sometimes lunch, but dinner we did on the fire pit, big barbecue, the old hamburgers, hot dogs bit. Water time, sorry. Let's go fishing all the time. Because when you fished there, because it was on private property, you didn't need a fishing license for them. And that was way back in the day. I think now you need a fishing license for everything. Everything and everywhere you go. We always started out there. The good times always spent with my grandparents in the summer weekends. I remember, here's a little side story from camping. When we camped there, the lake we were semi-close to, I mean, we could walk right to it and go fish. I remember it being really hot that summer, and the lake wasn't getting any rain or fresh water into it, so it got a little stagnant. During the fishing season, people would catch fish, gut them right there, and just leave the guts, right along the side of the riverbank. It attracted a lot of flies, mosquitoes, all kinds of nasty things you don't want around you when you're camping. And I had a mosquito bite on the left side of my face, right beside my ear. And as a kid, you scratch it, you itch it all up till it about bleeds. And it did bleed, and the flies were nipping at it then after I began bleeding. I think it was like 3 or 4 days after camping, so it was like a Wednesday. I began getting this I thought it was a scab from me scratching it, and it kept getting bigger and worse, and it would ooze, and it was crusty. And so my parents had to figure out what is this? It's like growing in mass. Went from the size of not even a dime. It's probably like a silver dollar size, inch diameter around. I couldn't figure out what it is. My dad worked second shift. So my grandfather that took me camping took me and my mom and my middle brother at that time. I don't know if my youngest brother was alive yet. Yeah, he was. I think he stayed with grandma. To ear, nose, and throat specialist, because it was near my ear. That's the first thing they thought of to go to. Take him to that doctor, see what they say. And the doctor's looking at it, he's like, I'm not a specialist in dermatology. This really doesn't have to deal with the ear. It's not inside the ear. I'd take him to see a dermatologist, but in my professional opinion, it looks like a herpes. And my mom got all panicked, and I was young. I didn't know what a herpes was. Herpes. Or herpes was. And so we get back in the car. She's in a panic. She's telling my grandfather what the doctor says he thinks it is. And they're arguing, there's no way he could have a herpes. He's only 11 or 12 years old. What is this? A couple of days of bouncing around took me to a local doctor and found out it was called impetigo. It's a skin disease that can be caused from flies upon the flesh, and it works like poison ivy. It develops a scab, then from underneath the scab will ooze a clear liquid. It looks like an infection, but it's not. It's more the virus forming, and it would just touch, wherever it touched the skin, that's where it spread to. So I was out of school for like 2 weeks for that. They put me on all kinds of antibiotics and steroids at the time to like get it out of my system. But that's one of my camping stories from there. I think it was the next summer after doing 2 years in that. I want to call it a trailer, but it's not. It's not going to give you the right image. It was like a truck bed camper. We went up to I think it was called a Chevron, actually pull along trailer. Oh wait, before we did that, we had gone to a pop-up trailer, and the pop-up trailer was one of those U-Haul, the little trailers you haul behind that you unfold when you're ready to sleep in and stuff. All it was sleeping quarters and storage area. And we did that for one season because my dad bought it. He bought it used, and it would beat the sinning back. The outer metal frame, he had to do a lot of patchwork to it. Tiger fiber, repaint, get it to pass inspection, stuff like that. We began taking that to Pioneer for a little bit because it had more room for the rest of the family to be in. So it was me, my two brothers, mom and dad, grandma and grandpa. And we had been using it for a while. And one time that we were there, it got really, really cold. And I laid on the ground, sleeping on a sleeping bag, using on top of the sleeping bag, using that for padding and a blanket over top of me. In the middle of the night, I asked for another blanket because I was freezing, and my mother threw me a blanket. And I had it on for like good 15, 20 minutes, and I dozed off. But I woke back up, and I'm like, I am so itchy. I'm dying. I feel like something's eating me alive. And, the little kid, be quiet. It's all in your head. Just go back to sleep. I laid there for like 5 minutes, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm so itchy, I cannot take it. My grandfather got up and he said, "You gotta see what's wrong with him. Something could actually be wrong. You can't yell at him." And they took out a flashlight, and I was covered in hives. Here, the blanket my mother had thrown on me was wool, and that's when I found out I'm allergic to wool, which lasted me forever. I haven't touched a wool item since. Even in the military, I didn't have a wool blanket there. It was amazing. I was so broken out. My grandmother gave me allergy Benadryl. They threw the blanket outside. I fell back asleep. The next morning, I was fine, little red blotches here and there. But yeah, the beginning of camping was pretty much torturous for me. We had that trailer for one season that I know of. Definitely one season, because every time we went camping on the weekends, it was pretty nice. Maybe a little light rain or dampness, the morning dew. But one time, I remember it was like the end of the season. We were out there camping in this thing in a very hard downpour. And all of a sudden, at the corners where the metal bars would hold the tent part up, began leaking into the tent. And everybody was slowly getting wet because we were sound asleep. We didn't notice the wetness hitting us until it was like almost too late. The floor was soaked. Everything was soaked. I remember my dad grabbing the lantern, turning it on inside the tent itself, the pop-up trailer tent, finding duct tape and electrical tape and trying to cover the holes to try to get the water from pouring in. But it was already too late. It had done its job and soaked like everything we were sleeping on. And after that, that thing was parked in my backyard for the longest time as a little clubhouse, playhouse for us kids for a while. Until it got to the point where I think my dad actually took it and stripped the tenting part out, kept the trailer and its little side openings for storage, and used it to haul wood to the house because we had a fireplace and the trailer was still inspected and still had a plate on it. So it was good for that year. So we used it for a couple seasons like that as a wood hauler until it just gave way under the weight and everything. Then that is when we bought, well, my grandparents bought the Chevron, and we had parked it into a campground called Scottie Land. And that was, being up there was like some of the greatest memories I ever had of camping. It was a real tight-knit community. You are put together like trailers in a trailer park, but everybody was so friendly, so kind. There was a group of kids I always hung out with. So many adventures down there. That's where being up there is where I started to learn how to drive. My grandfather would take me out to one of the old abandoned parking lots that were down the road. I think it was for a beach, but it wasn't used anymore. It was like an overflow parking lot. I'd just drive in circles, reverse it, and figure eight. And we'd do that for like an hour and then go back to the campground. But I hung out with so many kids. In fact, up there is where I learned weightlifting. A gentleman up there was Mr. Westmoreland County a few years. He had blown a disc in his back, but I hung out with his nephew, and we would work out every once in a while. He'd show me some pointers, this and that. That's what started me on that road of lifting weights all the time. The onset of puberty and finding out that you're highly attracted to the female form. I started up there. There were so many girls that we hung out with that, yeah, we did spurt some relationships. I miss a lot of those people. Wonder what they're up to now. I remember some of the names. I'm not going to put them here. I don't have their permission to put their names here. But nights at the bonfire, cooking out. The campground would even do like teen dances on Saturday nights with a little DJ. A DJ was equivalent to one big speaker and two tape mixers back then. If you remember tapes, if you're listening to this and you remember tapes, that's what they used to use. I remember going to those all the time, and they were fun. I had a mini boombox I would carry around with me. That's when I began getting into, I was into metal. It was like Wasp, Quiet Riot. Quiet Riot was a big one for me. Rat, Twisted Sister, names like that. But the people I hung out with began introducing me to R&B, rap. So I began to like them both. I lean towards heavy metal nowadays, but whatever catches my interest. I don't like gangster rap or anything. No one ever listened to that. It was always the loving R&B. I can't even remember. Sade? I was like New Kids on the Block, but I don't think that's right. If I could remember some of the names, I'd have to look them up. But always hanging out with those guys. Our camping area was the upper newer level of Scottie Land. Then there was the area around the big lake, which was the original part of Scottie Land. If you went down over a hill, and there's a roadway on this hill, it's called the primitive area, where it's pretty much in a very wooded area. It's meant for tents, single-nighters, not permanent residents up there. And we'd always walk down there and hang out and piss around and come back up, walk back up, and it was like, okay, at the fire, I'm bored of being fire. Let's take another walk. Everybody would walk down. At the age of 15, I think it was, I was introduced to alcohol up there. And it became one party after another sometimes, sneaking this, sneaking that, trying to not get caught intoxicated. But we never did. I don't think anybody ever got busted for drinking. Not that I can remember. But yeah, there's a lot of fun adventures camping up there. Our trailer was a little 16-footer. That's small compared to some of the ones that are up there now, or at any campground really. And it had water, a little itty bitty shower, but I used to use the shower that was provided for everybody, where you pay money to get in, money to run the water and stuff. Yeah, there was a lot of adventures up there. I remember one time, my grandparents would always get to bed early, and I'd have a time that I had to come home, back to the trailer, campground, or camper, I should say. And I came there one time. They were asleep. I was going to ask them to stay over a buddy's house. Now I went back out the door with my stuff that I grabbed, because it was a group of everybody. All the kids were going to stay at their camper on the porch, because they had one of those giant big wood porches. We were all going to hang out there with their parents. And I think I said I had the wrong wording, and then what led up to it probably didn't help matters at all. But these two frogs were making out while we were walking back down to this guy's place. Now that with me is this guy, we'll call him Don, and his sister Bonnie, both fictitious names. I'm like, look, these two frogs are fucking. And all of a sudden, this flashlight turns on. It's shining in my face, and it's my grandmother. I never swore in front of my grandmother ever. And she caught me saying that. And she's like, where do you think you're going? And I looked and I said, well, I'm going to stay at Bonnie's camper tonight. And I didn't mention her brother at all. And I think she took that the wrong way. And she grabbed me and snatched me up and took me back to the camper. And I think that's the first time I got in trouble up there. First and only time I think I got in trouble up there. But when we all began, one of us began driving first, and we would take trips from there up to Seven Springs and hang out there for the day. And Seven Springs always had some kind of event going on. I remember going up for a Corvette show, even though I think we showed up in some kind of Dodge Lancer at the time. And just walking around there, hitting the arcade, because their arcade was better than the arcade the campground had. The campground only had 4 machines. Meanwhile, this place had like 15 of them. Played miniature golf. We'd all hang out. It was quite enjoyable. It was quite a growing time for me. I think it's what made my step into early teens, into 16, now responsible for something, getting a job, easier, more understandable. I wasn't a very social kid when I was very young. I wasn't allowed out of the yard until who knows when. And one time I did get out of the yard. Me and my middle brother meet up with this guy we knew from school. And he's like, oh, there's a junkyard in the back down here. And we went to it. Here, it wasn't even a junkyard. It was some guy's lawnmower repair service. Wasn't fenced off, nothing. And so we looked at it, we left. Him and his brother went back and took a bunch of stuff from there. My parents get the call to bring me to the police station, and we're being charged with stealing stuff. Well, I never got charged. I got yelled at big time. Again, just allowed to roam the neighborhood, and now I'm stuck grounded again forever because the police were called. So what friends I did make were the wrong ones. Now that did change after camping. I was more sociable, more talkative, more willing to engage people in conversation than being a shy kid. I'm still a bit shy, but I think my shyness at this age and everything I've been through has changed to I don't trust you. That's where we're at with society now. And with me being in security for so long, I just don't trust people sometimes. I don't have a super high ego, especially around with females. My ego isn't up there. I just don't rate myself highly. I'm humble, I guess you would call it. Some people say it's stupid. I'm humble. And I'm polite. I just realized I have my effect on. I'm sorry if that sounded strange the whole time. I'm taking that off. Okay, that might help us here. Sorry. Hopefully this whole recording isn't a wreck. If it has special effects in it, it should be some kind of reverb. I'm sorry. But yeah, camping was a great thing. I think we all should get back to camping. I want to go camping again. What I'd really like to do is rent a cabin in the middle of winter when it's snowing and just enjoy the woods in the snow, get out and about. Yeah, I think we should get away from society every once in a while and just camp. Take your loved ones, throw up a tent, rent a cabin, rent a trailer, because they are rentable at a lot of locations now, and just enjoy life, do stuff together, rely on each other, get away from all this hubbub and everything going on. With this is a short one. If anybody has any input into this, hit me up on the Facebook. We have the email. Trying to think what else we got. We have the Twitter. I haven't been using that much. Probably should. We're relying on Facebook, emails, stuff like that. I'm hoping for a big change up, as of course we have that Kickstarter going, and that's going to segue me into on October 30th. I'm going to do a giant YouTube live thing. Let's put it this way, Jerry Lewis better look out, because I'm going to try to push and push and push. We're going to show a movie that's in public domain. It's called Dementia 13. It's by Francis Ford Coppola. Should be pretty good. I got the equipment and stuff to do it, so we'll have a little costume party extravaganza. You do not have to have a YouTube account to watch us. Some people have asked that. Just log into YouTube, look for the Buzzard's Nest podcast. There should be a live event. Should be the first thing there. You'll be able to see it. I don't know what time I'm starting it yet. I want to see how long I can go with it. But I'll keep everybody posted. And also, tomorrow we're going to record Grumpy Old Men. We're going to talk about the latest events locally in the United States that have been going on and things along that nature. You never know with us how we might trail off, but that's how grumpy old men sitting on a porch talk. All right, people. Hopefully this makes up for last week's missing one. And if I think of anything more, I'm going to throw it on here. All right, everybody. You have a good night. Okay, let me know what you think about this jam for the intro. This was made by me, by Jam something. It's an app on the Android. Might be on the iOS too. But I thought it'd be something a little funkier, a little bit more pick me up. Get you rolling. All right, everybody, take care. Enjoy yourselves. I'll be talking to you real soon.